Is your clear coat fading? Does it look really bad? This video is for you. We're gonna strip this roof and show you how to fix your clear coat peeling. If you want to strip the roof fast and effective, best way to do it is just go to the store. Walmart sells it. P80 grit, paper grit, 80 grit. And DA, this is Baxter's from Harbor Freight. Thing's $100. You can buy one $100. You can buy them on Amazon. Just makes it random orbital and some 80 grit. So this is what we're gonna do. First steps, obviously, is to see the problem. You see the problem, you see the clear peeling and all that. We're gonna tape this up because you don't want to get dust inside there. I'm gonna back tape it, so tape it back here so we can get the edges all sanded off. And we're gonna tape this up, just rubber, so you don't mess up the rubber, don't sand the rubber. Take the window or the rain channels out, and on Hondas, they just clip in like this. If you're watching this, you have 9-chin, and the rest of it just pulls out. And same thing for the front, just pull it, it'll come off. So tape it up and start sanding away, and I'll show you how far you need to get sanded. We're actually going to bare metal, so I'll tell you what is the better way, what's the cheap way, and we're gonna do it the right way. All right, let's get you on the tripod. Also, never forget your PPE. You don't want to breathe this clear coat or base coat in. And we're gonna put you on a time lapse. This is gonna take a little bit, so I'll tune in every so often. Sorry if you can't hear me. He's grinding back there. Mini truck things, all right? Also quick, when you're taping up the windshield, best way to get behind that rubber seal, you take your tape, and you're gonna fold it over on itself like this. Like that right there. Oh, that's a terrible one. Let's go over here. Take it, just fold it like that. So that way, this slides under the rubber seal, and you can fold underneath it, and you can see here. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear me. Jose's doing random stuff instead of just spending $60. But yeah, just like that, and you can get under a seal. That goes with anything, so it's called edge tape. So anyway, tape the sunroof up, and then we're gonna start stripping. If you buy a DA from Harbor Freight, it's gonna come with an interface pad. Take that off and put your 80 grit on it. Put your mask on and just start sanding away. You're gonna sand it until it's completely down to metal. Don't dig in, because you're gonna dig ruts in it. Keep it flat and sand it. That's the most rightest way to strip it. You can feather this out with say 180 and prime it with high build.
That would make it entertaining.
Sorry for them, by the way. I'm gonna put that in.
Entertaining.
Anyway, you can feather it out, you can 2K high build it, and then just sand it and paint it. But we're stripping it, and we're going to be putting epoxy primer on it. I don't see any dents, so we shouldn't have to do any body work. So put you back on the time lapse and start stripping. Well, we got a new one. We got a Husky here. This might be better for stripping the roof. You can get away with the Baxter DA. It's just going to take you a long time, as you can tell. We don't have much stripped, but we have some stripped. So we're going to switch to this one. You can use a regular DA like this. Just take your time. It's going to use a lot of 80 grit, so buy a box or two, okay? This is another one of those famous things, buy once, cry once. We're going to switch to the 3M Cubitron 2 80 grit purple stuff. This stuff is expensive, but it's really good stuff. So if you want to spend less time sanding, get better sandpaper, and go to Harbor Freight and buy a stripper wheel. Or actually, you don't even need sandpaper if you go get a stripper wheel, but you'll need it to feather out whatever you sand off. So switching to 80 grit 3M. It's better stuff, and see how much further we can get. So I should have bought a stripper wheel for this to save myself time, but I didn't. But this is, anybody can do this with some sandpaper and a $100 DA from Harbor Freight, or a $150 stripper from Harbor Freight. Basically, that's all you gotta do. Just sand it down. You could get it to this point right here. I don't know if you could see it right here. Oh god. See where it's kind of feathered out? Not this, but here. We could technically prime that. Just sand it down with 180 and prime it with some high build. But I want to treat this right, so we're gonna go all the way down the bare metal, all the way around. Instead of just priming that would be a temporary fix. You could do it, but I plan on having this paint last a long time. Which I'm not saying it won't, but it'd be better than priming it. But if you're doing it at home, sand it, feather it out, prime it, roll with it. Back on the hyperlapse, because this is the most boring stuff you'll ever see or do if you do this yourself. So sometimes it might be better to pay somebody to do it. All right, hyperlapse. Alright, so just like that, we're going to get it all the way like this. Let me show you what it looks like here. This is what it looks like all the way around. This stuff here, this is fine. This is just a E-coat on there. We're going to sand this one more time with 180 grit, with the DA this time, with the interface pad. And we're just going to make sure it's nice and smooth with 180 grit before we put our epoxy primer on there. So we are going to retape this, and we couldn't really get in here, so we're going to take some 180 grit on a hand, lift this up, and just feather that out. And then once we prime it, that'll be good. So let's get the 180 grit this with the DA, and then I'll meet y'all back in just a second, and we'll get to priming this thing, and this thing will be almost ready to paint the roof. But we still got to fix quarter door, and we're going to strip the fenders for the most part and the hoods when the time comes, because as you can tell, it's pretty bad all the way. Anyway, let's get to priming this roof here so we can head on home. So we're finished up with our 180. We're going to blow it off one more time. We're going to take all the tape off. We're going to tape it back up for primer, an epoxy primer. Like I said earlier, you don't have to strip it all the way. You can just feather it out, prime it with some high build primer, and then sand that and paint it. It'll be fine. It'll last a long time. But with these Hondas, I don't trust the base coat, because the base coat was starting to delam underneath the clear coat as well. So with these Hondas or the Hyundais that have the peel and paint, I know you have white Hyundais or Kias out there with peel and paint. This is the best way to do it. Strip it, and if you you don't have epoxy primer, you need some metal treatment before you prime it. Making the wipes or the spray, treat the metal before. But since today we're using epoxy primer, don't need to treat the metal. It's treated in epoxy. So let's get this blown off and retaped up, and we'll start spraying the epoxy primer on there, and then this will be done until it's time to move on to the next panel, and then we'll sand it further on beyond that and get ready to paint later on the videos. Let me stop talking and we'll get back to the stripping. We'll get back to fixing this roof, and we're about to prime it. And anyway, yeah, thanks again for sticking around. Make sure you subscribe below, because you're not going to want to miss this or something like that. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Again, real quick, if you look here, there's still clear peeling. If you do not pull this back and sand that down and prime over that, you will have that peel up later down the road. Same goes for in these channels right here. Don't forget the channels, and don't forget to scuff the back of the glass. Yes, it is better to take out the windshield and the window in the back. Do you have the money or time to do that? Neither do I. So peel this back, you can tape it shut, tape it open, and sand that out until it's gone, so it won't peel again. You don't want to paint this roof and let it be peeling again. That goes with quarter panel as well, or your door, or anything in that nature. Make sure there's no more peeling. And yes, sometimes it's time consuming to sit here and scuff that up, but I promise you, you need to do that. Prep is 90%, paint is 10. All right, let me get these edges out. I'm gonna tape it back up, and then I'll meet back with y'all in just a second. I'm not gonna make y'all watch that, because you just watched me strip this whole roof, and that probably took me an hour or two. So anyway, thanks for watching again. All right, let's go. All right, we're all taped up. We got a bunch of paper on here. If you don't have paper, you use newspaper, literally anything. Just make sure it's covered up. It won't get overspray anywhere. It doesn't matter for me, because I'll be sanding all the other panels. Anyway, you see how I got this tilted up so I can get primer down under there. So that's good. That's tucked under so we can get primer all on the edges of the sunroof. So let's get you on the tripod, and we'll start spraying this thing with some epoxy primer. Good thing is it's black, so let's go. We got our black epoxy primer mixed up, and we're using an good old Harbor Freight Black Widow. I did a video back on this gun about 5 months ago, and that video is over 12,000 views. So if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. I think I'm going to do another video on it, 6-month review, or maybe a year. I don't know, but it works pretty good. So we're going to spray our epoxy primer with the Black Widow. So join me while I spray this. Enjoy the sound of a air gun. All right, here we go. All right, we're going to start off with a light coat just to get a ground coat, and then our second coat will be a little bit heavier. Always read your TDS sheet to see what flash time is. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to let it flash, okay? TDS calls for 2 coats with 15 minutes in between, or 10 minutes at 70 degrees. So we're going to wait another 5 minutes, and we're going to spray our second coat on, and I think we'll be done. It's looking fairly straight. I don't see any dings or dents in it. So it's looking pretty good. Just let this side dry a little bit more, and then that's it. We stripped our roof. We fixed the clear coat peeling. I'll see you all in a second. Minutes, we're gonna go ahead and do our second coat. I'm gonna throw this one a little bit heavier, and we'll clean our gun out, untape it, and then we're good to go. Pretty much we can sand it and paint it, but we're gonna wait to go ahead and finish the rest of the car in the series, not today. That's it, all done. She looks good. There's a little ding here, and there's one there in the center. But before we paint it, we're gonna sand that down and we'll fix that. But it looks better than the clear coat peeling. It looks way better than this. That looks good, and I'm honestly happy about that. We need to do this. Alright everybody, appreciate everybody tuning into this video. I had a lot of requests on how to fix your clear coat, and this is how I would fix it. I'll put the price up of the gallon of Omni I used. There's the price. You could get away with something cheaper. Obviously, that's just what I had in hand. You just need epoxy primer if you're stripped to the bare metal. If you're not stripped to the bare metal, just buy some hot build primer. You're just fine. Anyway, just strip it down, feather it out, prime it, or epoxy it, and it's good to go. It'll last a long time. Honestly, if your car's black, get black. White, you can buy a white primer or white epoxy primer. So thanks for sticking around. Appreciate everybody coming to the end of the video. Leave a like and a comment. Appreciate y'all sticking around to the end, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. Peace.
Up in the hills now, shawty, we can mess around. Remember I was broke, they never came around. They thought of me,